me to hop on like an antique train. No, I'm just kidding, folks. You see us rolling. You're dropping. All right, for my two Washington Monument folks.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. And off we go, folks. Now, last but not least, if you have really, for those of you who are not staying with us for lunch, tips are greatly appreciated. Anything that you give us is split evenly between Tracy and I at the end of the tour. Now, on our left-hand side, we have the Washington Monument again. Now, as I mentioned to one of you, the Washington Monument does change color approximately a third of the way up. Now, the reason for this is, remember, the Washington Monument, only monument in the city, was begun in 1794. When they began planning the monument, they were using a type of granite from a quarry in the state of Maryland. However, in 1846, the George Washington Monument Committee ran out of money, and thus they had to cease construction of the Washington Monument about a third of the way up. Now, from 1846 to 1868-69, no construction work on the monument was performed. This changed in 1870 when the U.S. government bailed out the George Washington Monument Committee. They got tired of looking at a nub of a monument on the National Mall and decided to fund the completion of it. However, in 1870, when they began finishing it, the original quarry in the state of Maryland was closed. It had closed in 1860, about 1860, 1861, because it turns out not a lot of people are building giant granite memorials and monuments during civil wars. Who would have guessed? So they had to find another quarry with similar looking granite. They ultimately settled on a quarry in Massachusetts that looked like the stone was the same. However, when they finished it and let it weather, turned out it looked completely different. Now, does anyone have any questions about the Washington Monument? No? Fantastic. Oh, I didn't tell you how tall it was. Folks, the Washington Monument is the tallest freestanding masonry structure in the world, standing at 555 feet tall and 5/8 of an inch high. Now, when I say largest freestanding masonry structure in the world, what that means is that it is the tallest pile of stones stacked one on top of the other, with nothing on the ground supporting them, with the exception of the stone directly underneath it. So, on very windy days, now I can say this because the Washington Monument folks got off, they have to close the monument if the wind gets higher than this. That's it. A simple breeze will close the Washington Monument because, well, if it gets too windy, the tip of the monument moves between a foot and a foot and a half. That's right. Now, you can't see it from the ground, but you can absolutely feel it when you're up there. Sorry, you had a question?
I'm sorry, does the elevator still work that takes you
Yes.
up?
The only way you can get up there is through the elevator. Now, they did used to let you, crazy few, walk up the stairs, but the fire department, after rescuing 2 people, having cardiovascular events on the stairs, decided no, you're not letting anyone else use the stairs.
Wow.
So the elevators are now the only way you can get up to the top. So, folks, I do not recommend going to the Washington Monument for 3 reasons. Number 1, you have to pay to get in, and, well, the post office clock tower is free. Reason number 2, well, the post office clock tower never has to close because of a wind advisory. No? At only 315 feet and well supported from the ground, the top of the post office clock tower never moves. And last but not least, reason number 3, the most important reason, is one of the highlights, arguably one of the best parts of the DC skyline, is the Washington Monument. Son, what can't you see from the top of the Washington Monument? Well, the National Arboretum, of course. No, you can't see the Washington Monument from the top of the monument, so it is better to go to the old historic Coastal Pavilion clock tower. Now, folks, we are once again approaching the World War II Memorial. And I'm going to take a quick little break to hydrate, because, folks, remember, you have to hydrate or dehydrate here in Washington. Alrighty, folks, here on your left-hand side is one of the few, memorials on the National Mall dedicated to a non-president. That is the John Paul Jones Memorial here to our left. John Paul Jones was an American sailor and captain during the Revolutionary War. He was also a privateer, and he was the only American privateer to raid the English coastline and live to tell the tale. There's the torpedo! That was Farragut. Alright, folks, do not listen to Sunshine. John Paul Jones did not, in fact, say damn the torpedoes. That was Admiral Farragut. He was a Civil War admiral who, when assaulting the port of New Orleans, he was told that there were what we would today call mines back in the Civil War. They were called torpedoes. He was told there were mines in the harbor and he shouldn't continue the assault. And he said, damn the torpedoes, we sail ahead. No worries. Alrighty, folks. Does anyone have any questions about Washington, D.C. that I have not touched on yet? No? Alright. Wonderful. Now, Washington, D.C. was founded, as I've mentioned in passing, in 1790 with the Congressional Residency Act. That act stipulated that the state of Maryland and the Commonwealth of Virginia would each cede land on the Potomac River to the federal government for the establishment of our nation's capital. Now, up until 1846, Washington, D.C. comprised of Washington County, where we are now. Washington County evolved into Washington City. And from Maryland, it took the town of Georgetown, which is where we're headed to next. And from Virginia, it acquired the county and town of Arlington and the city of Alexandria. Now, you can actually tour Alexandria with our company. All you have to do is scan this little barcode that, I guess we don't have. All you have to do is go on our website and you can book a tour of Alexandria and Mount Vernon with our company. And I believe you get a discount. You wouldn't know? Alright, I'm not going to promise that. Never mind, forget I said anything. But I do know Alexandria is well worth it. Now, folks across the river.
Hey. Seriously.
Sure. Oh, I'm fine. My pride is wounded, but physically I am okay. Well, now we're bigger than him. Let's take him out. Damn the torpedoes, Sunshine. Onward. Alrighty, folks. So, Georgetown is the oldest part of Washington, D.C., dating back to 1752, when it was founded as an English tobacco port. See, the colony of Maryland and the colony of Virginia were both founded for the purposes of growing and exporting tobacco back to England, which was on a tobacco high back in the 17th and 18th centuries. And as such, they founded the colonies to grow the lucrative trade goods. Now, Georgetown is, of course, the oldest part of Washington, D.C. As it dates back to the colonial period, it is one of